Alright, welcome back to another episode of Dave Makes Food. Today we'll be doing another meal prep recipe which will include both the calories and cost per serving. Today's recipe will be the world's greatest tofu dish, Mapo Tofu. A lot of times tofu dishes can be pretty bland and not exciting, but Mapo Tofu is the complete opposite. It is a flavor-packed spicy dish from the Sichuan province of China. It combines garlic, ginger, chilies, ground pork, fermented bean paste, and a few other ingredients into an incredibly flavorful and addicting sauce which pairs perfectly with steamed white rice. We'll start the recipe by making our rice. I'm making 1 cup of Calorie rice, but use whatever your favorite is. This will be enough for 6 portions. We're also going to be cooking some gailan or Chinese broccoli to add some color and nutrition to the meal. These cost 59 cents per pound in Chinatown, and this whole bag costs less than $2. We're not going to do anything too fancy to them, just trim the ends off and slice them on a nice long bias. Give them a good wash, and then steam or boil for a minute when the Mapo tofu is almost done. Next we're going to mince up 40 grams each of ginger and garlic. This might seem like a lot, and it definitely is, but we're making a dish with maximum flavor today. Along with ginger and garlic, we're also going to need a spicy component. I'm using whole dried chilies, but you can also use fresh ones or chili flakes. And the last thing we'll need to slice are some green onions. Just trim the ends off, slice them in half, and cut them on a nice long bias. Set them aside for garnish later. Alright, time to start cooking. Add 1 pound of ground pork to a pan over medium-high heat. If you're using lean ground pork or ground chicken or something else of that nature, you'll probably have to add some oil, but regular ground pork should have enough fat, which will also equal more flavor. Once it's almost cooked off, you can add in all of your garlic, ginger, and chili. I forgot to add my chilies here, so I will awkwardly be throwing them in later, but just like with the ginger and garlic, if you add it at this stage, it will develop better flavor. Cook until the liquid has changed from cloudy to clear and the pork is starting to brown. Then add in a tablespoon of dried fermented black beans. These add a deep umami salty flavor. If you can't find these, a half tablespoon of soy sauce is a decent substitute. These are the exact ones I use, but they cost about 10 times more on Amazon apparently. They are definitely not worth this price. The next thing we'll have to add is our fermented bean paste. This is the traditional Chinese version called doubanjiang, which has a pungent savory flavor. However, it is much too salty on its own in my opinion. I prefer to combine it with the Korean equivalent called gochujang, which has a much more balanced flavor profile. Ssamjang is also similar and can be used if you don't want to make your Mapo tofu spicy at all. This is basically a mild version with extra aromatics added. I'm going to be using a tablespoon of each today. This was my first time trying all 3 pastes in equal proportions and it turned out amazing. We're also going to be adding some freshly ground sichuan peppercorns. These help give Mapo tofu its distinct and addictive flavor. They taste citrusy when you eat them, but they leave your mouth with a tingly feeling usually described as numbing. They are of course completely optional, but if you want to make this the authentic way, you're going to need a lot of these. Mix everything around and cook the bean paste until it starts to stick to the pan. Then add in 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of white pepper, and a sprinkle of MSG if you want. Then we're going to deglaze with 3 tablespoons of cooking wine. Unstick everything from the bottom of the pan, then we're going to add in 500 milliliters of chicken stock and let it come to a simmer. I missed out on a little bit of flavor by not adding these when I did the ginger and garlic. Not a huge deal though, just simmer this for a couple minutes then give it a taste. Make sure you're happy with the balance of flavors. Then add in your tofu. Soft or silken tofu definitely produce the best results in my opinion. The soft texture pairs perfectly with the bold spicy sauce, but if you prefer firmer tofu you can certainly go ahead and use that. You can cut the tofu into whatever size pieces you want, but I like to leave them large since they will continue to break up as you cook. Simmer for another couple minutes so the tofu heats up. Then give it one last taste to make sure the flavor is perfect. The final step we have to do is to thicken the sauce with cornstarch. I prefer to make mine on the thicker side so that the sauce can sit on top of the rice and doesn't get soaked up instantly. I used about 2 large tablespoons of cornstarch. Try not to mix the tofu at this point, just kind of push it around so it doesn't break up any more than it has to. Once you're happy with the consistency, turn the heat off and add a tablespoon of sesame oil for extra fragrance. Give it one final taste test. It should be the perfect balance of salty, spicy, sweet, fragrant, and with a deep, rich, savory flavor. Now all that's left to do is make yourself a nice serving and portion the rest for later. I like to garnish my Mapo Tofu with additional sichuan peppercorns as well as some green onions. And just like that, our Mapo Tofu meal prep is finished. But how many calories are in each serving, and how much do they cost? Well, here are the calorie totals for each of the ingredients in case you're interested. Giving us a grand total of 3,305 calories. I split this recipe into 4, but they were definitely on the very large side and weighed in at about 700 grams each, which is more than 1.5 pounds of food. So let's pretend and do the calculations as if I made 6 portions, since that's a lot closer to the size of meals I actually ate. Even if we do the calculations for 6 servings, they would still weigh over 1 pound each and contain about 551 calories per serving. Here are the calories per ingredient when divided into 6 portions. And on top of being a well-balanced and healthy meal, these portions were also extremely cheap to make. Here are the cost of all the ingredients, giving us a grand total of $9.02, which is equal to this amount per serving. And now that we've made and portioned our budget-friendly and healthy meal, the most important part is of course the flavor. As I said in the beginning, Mapo Tofu is one of the most flavor-packed dishes in the world. It's incredibly fragrant from the ginger, garlic, chilies, peppercorns, and fermented bean pastes while having a flavor profile with a balance of sweet, salty, spicy, and savory. All the flavors combine to make the most addicting flavor profile that pairs perfectly with white rice. The soft tofu also helps to balance out the incredibly flavorful sauce, as well as giving it a very pleasant, silky texture. In terms of cost, calories, healthiness, difficulty, time, and flavor, this is basically a perfect meal that everyone should try for themselves. I hope you enjoyed this meal prep video for Mapo Tofu. Please like and subscribe if you did, and let me know if there's a recipe you would like to see me do a similar video for. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you for the next recipe.